Amazing. So we have Phil Jaloveic here,
Hello,
and
hello.
he just finished his spiral journey over the last 3 months. And I guess first question I have for you, Phil, why did you choose to work with me? What was it that made you feel safe and comfortable to be able to go through this journey with me?
Sorry, my alarm's going off.
That's okay.
I mean, we met it was 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And I think with meeting you and Alexa just clicked and just felt like you were solid people, good people, safe people, someone I admired being on a similar path of just wanting a better life, it's kind of personal development, spiritual path. So having those kind of aligned direction, values, having things in common, being passionate about health. But I really felt, yeah, and I think that's an important thing, even though men don't use that word, but just feeling safe and going, okay, I can have weird stuff come up. I can tell her about my fears. I can tell her about my emotions. I can share things I'm embarrassed that I did last week or last year. So, and a lot of it, honestly, not to sound overly esoteric, but I know you work with a lot of women, so hopefully they can relate, but it was intuitively, it really felt lined up. I'm with the program, like, I don't know if I can do it, or I'm not expecting this, or I wanted to sign up for this, and Laura's thing is different, but something really just told me to go for it. And I'm glad I trusted in that, because I think sometimes we need everything to make sense perfectly in our mind, and sometimes life doesn't. So really trusting in my intuition and what I felt when it came to you and came to the program.
Oh, that makes me so happy. And what was your experience then, say, doing it with a woman instead of doing it with a man? Do you feel like there was value in that?
Yeah, I think I probably felt more comfortable sharing emotional stuff and feelings and past things. I think at times I felt more nervous sharing sexual stuff, sexual fears, sexual past stuff. But then after sharing it, I actually felt probably more comfortable with you than I would have with most other people or men. I think men, we get each other, but we can be more black and white on certain things. So yeah, I really liked it. I think there's something in general, my coaching as well, and with working with women, it can be nice to have the same gender, and there's a lot of big advantages working with someone of the opposite sex.
For sure.
Bring something a lot different to the table.
Yeah. And what was it that you were feeling kind of stuck with in your life before moving through the spiral? Like, what was your intention going into it?
Having a good direction. I mean, knowing where I wanted to go in my life and business, and not really being consistent and following through on it, and knowing what to do and not doing it, whether I was not inspired enough, motivated enough, disciplined enough. And like I said, the risk of sounding overly esoteric, something was very strong intuitively, like, go for this, you're going to get benefit from it. And for me, I couldn't rationalize your program right away. Like, it wasn't like, okay, I'm making X amount of dollars in my business, and if I hire this coach, I'll hopefully be able to increase my profits 20%, something very tangible. But it was more of just like, I know I'm going to get something from this and learn more, and also release things that are holding me back that I don't totally understand on an intellectual level, but I'm just going to trust that I'm guided and that my intuition's telling me the right thing, and just to go for it.
Yeah. And if you were to describe the spiral journey in like a single phrase or like a couple sentences, how would you describe the spiral?
One of the first words that would come up would be releasing. And I think a lot of it was not very conscious, like, oh, I have a fear of whatever. Oh, now I don't have a fear of whatever. It was more gradual, like stuff just started to fall away that was no longer serving me. And I seemed to be more and more focused and on top of, to now today, where I'm the most consistent and focused in my business I've ever been. I think I was just telling you, in the next 10 weeks, I'll accomplish more content than I did in the last 10 years.
So
and
good.
What specific thing did you release or whatever? I mean, honestly, half the stuff I don't know, it just worked.
Yeah.
Again, not sounding overly esoteric, but it's like, what, you released your fear of talking to people? Or it's like, I don't really know, but I felt different after most our calls, and some our calls I felt enormously different. or I felt things got moved around. And then the next day I'm like, things feel smoother. I'm not as worried about that. Or, I feel more confident in this. So it was an
Hmm.
overall, an overall thing like that. I hope that makes sense to whoever's listening to this.
For sure. Yeah. Cause it's an energetic process.
Exactly. So
So
I think
bringing this stuff, sorry, go ahead.
for people to trust in that, if someone is
Yeah.
on their first or second call with you and going, what did I get? Or, our coaching together, when you're my coach, it wasn't, let's talk through this thing and I'm going to tell you, ask a question, and we're going to discover what is holding you back. It was more esoteric than that, but the results were very tangible. So that's
Hmm.
probably the biggest thing I wanted to emphasize. If someone's listening to this and they feel called to Laura, called to this program, even if you're kind of just getting into spirituality, you're into it heavy and something is leading you in this direction, to take the plunge and to move towards it and trust the process, and the results will be there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Cause it's like you're muscle testing into the body where all of these old emotions have been trapped in your body. And then
Yeah,
when they come to the forefront, I remember you having like some big breakthroughs, specifically like around your dad. I think there was a
I
few
did.
moments.
And I think I even
Yeah.
had physiological stuff happen where, we did something and I released something. The next day I was really tired. And then the next week, kind of the same thing. And then I was really energized. And like, it's kind of a bit, like I said, more esoteric, more woo woo, but in a really good way of a lot of
Hmm.
the stuff I've done. And I think you can't, at the end of the day, we're kind of all same. No one can argue with results. If you do some program, do some coaching thing, and you get the results, that's really what matters to most people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, did it work?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is all like backed by actual things like with the scale of consciousness and the chakra system and spiral dynamics. So it is like, but as you go through the journey, like the thing is, I need to know all that stuff. However, the client
Mhm.
doesn't need to know all that shit. It's like I just facilitate it, I guide it, and then the process works so well with the way that it works. So I'm so
Yeah.
happy that you had that experience.
And that's the thing. And I guess I'll say this to any guy who's listening to this. If you're a guy, and men, a lot of times we aren't as connected with our feelings, maybe our emotions, our intuition. And if this sounds overly esoteric or like, what is it? What do we do? What's the result? I don't get it. To trust in something deeper, if you can, to go, okay, for some reason I'm in front of Laura. For some reason I was guided to this. For some reason I trust her and I feel I can grow with her. Because like you said, it's on an energetic level. It's not some very intellectual level. So at the end of the day, it's just the thing that I kept coming back to with our work together. I'm like, I don't get it, but it works. Like, I don't totally
Hmm.
understand, but it works. Like,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
kept on
And if
coming
you
back.
could describe, Phil, like when we hopped on a session, describe to me from your perspective what that looks like, as if like somebody was watching this and they're like, what even happens on these sessions? Like if you could just explain from your perspective what these sessions look like in the time that we
Oh,
spent
I mean, it
together.
was kind of meditative in that way, where there's not a lot of effort on my end where I'm having what happened when you were 7, or what have you been afraid of for 20 years. It was kind of just stuff that came up that you brought up, and then it was kind of like, oh yeah, well, I guess something did happen around 12 years old. Now that muscle tested, or that showed up, what could it be? I wonder if it could be this. Or sometimes I don't know what it is, but I know Laura's going to fix it and process it anyways, and I don't need to intellectually understand it. I'll have the benefit
Exactly.
at the end of the call. And it was a and it was a little tricky for the first few sessions, because I'm like, I don't know what we're doing, or I don't know where this is going. And I don't think I was trusting the process because it was different, but I kept coming
Hmm.
back to something's working. I'm not doing something with another coach. Like, something is consistently working, with her. But I'd say the sessions were easy. It wasn't like a bunch of uncomfortable questions, which that can be good too, but it was
Hmm.
fairly smooth. And for any of you that are trying, it really helped me to close my eyes, because then it was like I was more present and surrendered. And I was kind of out of my intellectual mind or my head more. And I was more in my body, my emotions. And that really helped me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big process to help get out of the mind. So if you are in the overthinking,
Sure.
to be able to drop down into your body and doing the somatic work and then clearing out those emotions with the meridians
Exactly.
on the body. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And what do you see is now possible for you since moving through the spiral that you didn't think was possible before?
I mean, in short, I've just released a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it, spiritual, emotional things. And I think in so many ways in life, we're in our own way, whether it's relationships, it's money, it's our health, it's whatever. And I got out of my own way in ways I don't totally understand intellectually. But like I said before, I've been the most focused and productive and consistent with business. And I've been very frustrating with myself because I knew where I wanted to go, but self-sabotaging, fears, whatever. So again, if you say what specific blockage did you release with Laura, I don't know. And I really don't care. It just
Right?
worked. Like there was
Yeah.
kind of, it just works. And I'm a fan of spiral dynamics. I think it's really useful technology. And you had a different spin and a different approach that I, as someone who's been studying spiral dynamics for over 10 years now, I really appreciate it. And it really it just works. If something works, I think that's the thing about life. You can't argue with what works. As long as
For
it's
sure.
ecological, healthy, sustainable, and it works, have at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you mentioned a really good point about getting out of your own way. Because
For
that's really
sure.
all of this work is just getting out of our own way. Because
Exactly.
the dreams and desires we have, like they're there for a reason. And it's our path of where we're meant to go. And when we learn how to get out of our own way and out of our mind and into our feels and into our intuition, then things just flow. So that's
Yeah.
like so great. So where are you headed next? What are you like most excited for coming out of this?
I would just say I feel like a different person, and I feel like a weight has been lifted and things are gone that weren't there. And I don't, again, I don't totally understand it at the risk of sounding vague. Like, and I just feel called to help people, called to serve, called to create seminars, and more than ever in my life. And one thing is, I guess, feeling a calling, and another thing is doing it. It's like, oh, I feel called to lose weight. Okay, but you don't eat salads and you don't go to the gym. So now, and I was telling you that before our call, like I've been the most consistent I've been, and I know what I'll accomplish in 2022 business wise will be more than the last 5 years combined, hands down. And we're only 4 weeks into the year, and I
Yeah.
already I feel that confident. It's from a really different place that I can't say I've really ever been in my life when it comes to that.
That makes me so happy to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it was
good.
awesome. I would highly recommend it. And like I said, if you're someone who's very overly analytical, or you're a guy, or we can be in our thoughts more, like I said, if you feel the calling, if you feel drawn to Laura, you might go, I don't understand how it works, or what is it, or what does a session look like? Give it a shot. Go through was it 12 weeks, right? Go through
12
the
weeks. Yeah.
12 weeks, and it might not always make sense to you, but you'll see the results show up in your life, cross contextually in your relationship and your health to just start getting better. And I don't know that you need to know exactly how or why. It's just, it really works. And that's what was a hard thing for me probably for the first few sessions, is really going, I think something's changing, but I don't understand it. And just trusting in the process, and then, falling in love with the process and the end result.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, it was a pleasure like guiding you through it. Like you're honestly like just so nice to show up with every single week and move you through it. So I just want to thank you for being so awesome.
Thank you.
And is there anything else you'd like to share? Anything else that you'd like to put out there? Feel called?
Yeah. I mean, if you've done coaching in the past, maybe you're familiar with more of a traditional coaching, asking questions, teaching, hey, this is how I grew my business from here to here, and here's what you should do, because those were my experiences. So, I've, at the risk of sounding redundant, but I just want to make a point. Like, if you feel guided to this and you trust in this, like I wasn't planning on signing up for this when we talked, and then something was like, go give this a shot. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. It's off topic. It's whatever. And I was like, I'm glad I listened to whatever you want to call it, my emotions, my intuition, my feelings. And women, you're much better at that than men. And to go for it, because I was really impressed with the result, even though I kind of was confused by what we were doing, or it was, different than anything I've experienced. But at the end of the day, I can tell you it definitely works. And Laura, as amazing as what she does, and we did this last year, so I can imagine she's only better at it now, because she said she's doing it even more and more and more and more. So it's getting a little better each time.
Yes. Thank you so much, Phil. Amazing. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can always reach out. You reach out to me or Phil. Like I'm sure you'd be
Yeah,
open to people asking you questions as well.
if someone says, "Hey, I'm considering Laura's program. I don't know, or should I invest the money, or I'm skeptical, or what did you get?" Like, you can reach out to Laura or send me a message on Instagram, Relationship Coach Phil, and I would be happy to share, what I've learned and where I've grown and any other like specificities of the program.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Phil.
My pleasure. Thank
You're
you.
amazing. You're welcome.